Why is it that a character like Tony Soprano pulls you in time and time again?
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
What if I told you it's possible that the same impulses that make Tony evil can be used to make yourself not only good, but stand out among the greatest of the best people? In today's video, I walk through why Tony's blend of charm and darkness isn't TV magic, but it's a window into the dual nature of the psyche, inviting us to face the light and shadow within ourselves. This summer marked my fourth time finishing The Sopranos. Yes, the fourth time. Fresh off finishing The Good Place, my wife and I were riding the momentum of great shows. Let's commit to The Sopranos, we agreed. A boyish ecstasy ignited within me. I knew what this journey meant and was excited to find out what would be different this time around, as is the case for the greatest of the best shows. It was my wife's first time watching the show, and I was giddy to share its excellence with her. Each episode's runtime feels like the snap of a finger, immersing us in a meaningful ride together. Come to realize that any experience that compresses time to but a moment hints at something fundamental about the nature of humanity. Contemplated writing a piece about the show, but decided against it despite a moderate feeling to do so. I thought, maybe I'll write one after the fifth watch. Reading Catherine Shannon's piece, "The Male Mind Cannot Comprehend the Allure of Tony Soprano," sparked my urge to write this piece and create this YouTube video. Her humorous take had me hooked, though I found myself enamored by Tony Soprano rather than repulsed or confused by him. She highlights two extremes of men who fail to grasp Tony's appeal, which I'll now extrapolate on. The virtue-signaling male feminist obsessed with dismantling the tyrannical patriarchy, and the alpha-max giga-chads guzzling nutrient-dense breast milks and spending 4 hours a day at the gym to gain 14 millimeters on his biceps. I wanted to write this not to disagree, but to explore what I think allows the male mind to understand Tony's allure, which is interconnected with developing the characteristics described in Catherine's writing. This piece is for the men who not only understand Tony Soprano's allure, but are introspective enough to recognize that he lives within all of us. HBO's white noise to hum introduction has become inseparable from the opening that forever echoes in my ears. Alabama 3's Woke Up This Morning perfectly sets the tone. Tony's white Escalade emerges from the Lincoln Tunnel in Weehawken, New Jersey, gold glinting on both wrists, cigar perched between his fingers as he rolls into his curved driveway. This time around, I found myself questioning if Tony deserved more credit for trying to be a good guy or if I was tricked by a sociopath's charm. It's likely the latter, and I'm in good company. When we talk about characters like Tony Soprano in a positive regard, we tend to make the proper disclaimer. Yes, I know his murderous, manipulative, emotionally abusive, explosive, infidelity, and racism is wrong and evil. I think we do this to ensure that by talking about Tony's positive characteristics, we don't indicate that we agree with the negative ones. Can never do those things, one would say. This signaling casts away the bad characteristics, so we talk about the good, typically without realizing that those evil characteristics are also human. That means that we're all capable of the actions Tony was capable of. We often view evil as the opposite of good, but the two are inextricably linked. By recognizing this, we can examine those traits within ourselves and choose to redirect their energy towards positive ends, a choice Tony fails to make through improper integration. Starting in the pilot episode, The Sopranos invites us into something television didn't consistently display before. Sitting across from his therapist, Tony breaks into tears upon the realization that his panic attack, on the surface induced by the fleeing of ducks briefly lived in his pool that he took an obsession with, was an unconscious projection of his fear of his family falling apart. The Sopranos is a portal into something most don't acknowledge. People we regard as evil still have a positive humanity, albeit more mute than typical. Tony's therapy sessions, juxtaposed with his horrific acts, offer a window to humanity's dual nature, a reflection into our own shadow. Carl Jung, founder of analytical psychology and one of the most brilliant thinkers of the 20th century, redefined Freud's psyche with a more nuanced framework. In his conception, Jung laid out what he called the shadow, the parts of our personality that are repressed, hidden, or denied, often because they conflict with our conscious self-image. The concept is nuanced. It doesn't simply mean all the bad stuff, but rather that which you look away from and refuse to integrate into yourself as a whole being. A Jungian view is that everyone harbors the capacity for all aspects of human experience, even the darkest horrors. This is an unsettling but vital truth. Marie-Lou von Franz was a well-known student of Jung's and explored the shadow in man and his symbols. Writing. Through dreams, one becomes acquainted with aspects of one's own personality that, for various reasons, one has preferred not to look at too closely. The shadow is not the whole of the unconscious personality. It represents unknown or little-known attributes and qualities of the ego aspects that mostly belong to the personal sphere and that could just as well be conscious. Tony Soprano bangs on the door of the male mind, and in our unmasculine era, most don't answer. Defense mechanisms propagate to protect the viewer from the refusal to look inward and at their inadequacies. As Jung writes, traits. Everything that irritates us about others can lead to an understanding of ourselves. For most, irritation is easier than acknowledgement. Facing and accepting the dark impulses within is challenging and tricky. Jung again. The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. Catherine points out Tony's collection of attractive traits: competence, a genuine attraction for women, safety, loving attentiveness, lightheartedness, charisma, charm, and courage. Tony embodies these positive characteristics partly because he has integrated parts of himself, albeit improperly, that allow the expression of those traits. An example is the impulse towards violence, raw primal energy. Jung would argue that while the literal expression of the energy as violence is unacceptable, and where Tony ultimately fails, the psychic energy behind the impulse, passion, intensity, and primal force can be redirected towards positive ends. Traits like selfishness, for example, if repressed, lead to narcissism. Conscious selfishness can foster necessary self-care and reflection, boundary setting, and personal growth. One thing often misunderstood in our society is that good and evil aren't binary opposites. Our cultural narratives often paint good and evil as separate forces, heroes and villains. However, Tony Soprano shows us that these impulses are intertwined and recognizes that complexity is essential for personal growth. In fact, integrating the capacity for evil might be a prerequisite for greater moral virtue. Nietzsche's insight underscores this idea. Great epochs of our life come when we gain the courage to rechristen our evil as what is best in us. Tony's admirable qualities, like courage, emerge from his integration of darker impulses. Where Tony goes wrong is by using psychic energy towards destructive ends, such as channeling his violent impulses into real-world harm. The energy behind Tony's darker traits, such as his violence, could fuel more virtues if properly channeled. On the positive side, he's loving, carefree, fun, witty, and funny. The carefree attitude is born from his integration of exercising control and expressing his power drive. Tony doesn't hold back on his wit and humor, which come from an integrated verbal expression. He speaks as he sees it without fear of being attacked because he will stand his ground. Throughout The Sopranos, viewers watch Tony grapple with business and family problems while oscillating between his positive and negative traits, sometimes solving his problems using the extremes of his darkness. Tony's inner struggles play out vividly in Season 1, Episode 5, College. Tony takes his daughter Meadow on college tours when he spots Febby, a former mobster now in witness protection. Torn between his mafia code and his role as a father, Tony contemplates whether to kill Febby while evading Meadow's probing questions about his involvement in the mafia. He sneaks around to gather intel from his nephew, Christopher, deepening the web of deceit. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, the neighborhood priest, Father Tintola, visits the Soprano household, and Carmela and him share a night that increasingly grows intimate, and the priest ends up spending the night after drinking too much. Carmela grapples with her own feelings of loneliness and the lies in her marriage, especially after receiving a call from Tony's therapist, who he had falsely described as a man, canceling an appointment. What better episode for viewers to confront the darkness within themselves? Will Tony tell Meadow the truth? Will he spare Febby or uphold his code? How does Carmelo handle the revelation of Tony's deceit and her own actions with Father Tintola? The episode College challenges us to consider the complexities of honesty, loyalty, and the moral choices that define us. Tony ultimately kills Febby, fabricating a story to Meadow when she notices the cuts on his hand, the sand from the scene of the crime. While waiting for Meadow to finish her last college interview, Tony sits down, and both he and the viewer are hit with a moment of stark contemplation as he peers up at the following Hawthorne quote: "No man can wear one face to himself and another to the multitude without finally getting bewildered as to which may be true." The Hawthorne quote looms over Tony as a mirror of his fractured self. By killing Febby and lying to Meadow, Tony reveals the dangers of an inappropriate shadow integration. His violent impulses, unexamined and unchanneled, lead him to destruction rather than resolution. His deceit, meanwhile, deepens the divide between the father he wants to be and the mobster he cannot escape. They return home, and the oscillation from dark back to funny kicks in when Carmela tells Tony that Father and Tintola spent the night and they were alone. The best writing can't emphasize James Gandolfini's delivery, so here's the video.
Oh, here they are, the two Ivy Leaguers. Mwah. How was it? You just want something to eat?
It was good. I gotta call Hunter.
Gee, she spared me no boring detail.
I'll be back.
What a trip. I'm beat.
What, New England? It's so gorgeous.
You still sound a little nasal, but you look better. Any cold pasta?
There was some ziti, but it all got eaten.
The whole tray? From last Sunday? Monsignor Jughead was here.
If you are referring to Father in Tintola, yes, he was. He spent the night here.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The priest spent the night here. What happened?
Nothing.
Where was Anthony?
He was sleeping over at Jason's.
The priest spent the night here. Nothing happened. And you're telling me this because...
You might hear something. Take it the wrong way. His car was out front all night.
You know what? This is too fucked up for me even to think about. What'd you guys do for 12 hours? Play, Name That Pope?
He gave me communion.
Oh, I'll bet he gave you communion.
Excuse me?
Well, Carmela, the guy spends the night here with you, and all he does is slip you a wafer?
That's verging on sacrilege.
Oh, I didn't mean to verge.
Well, you think I'm lying?
I don't know, but the whole thing sounds...
Would I have told you about it voluntarily if there'd been anything to be ashamed of? Do I look like the friggin' Thornbird over here?
He's a fag. That's it. Because otherwise, I gotta question what I'm hearing here.
Oh, Tony, you are a sketch. Oh, by the way, your therapist called. Jennifer?
Tom, I just thought you'd think it was weird if I saw a woman psychiatrist, that's all. Tom, come on! It's just therapy, that's all. We just talk.
The Sopranos portrays a man with significant flaws, yet possessing positive qualities. Tony is given many chances to walk a path of redemption and stop the evil acts he commits. I long for him to surface from the darkness his life is surrounded by, hoping it could arise from the depths that consume him. Ultimately, he doesn't. This left me with a question. Had my brain been hijacked by a charismatic sociopath, or was I drawn by a hope of redemption, longing to redeem a self that I might have lived if I was born into his world? In watching Tony's arc throughout the series, we can either try to understand or cast him off as a bad guy and enjoy the ride. Either is fine. It does take effort to contend with the dark parts of you, and sometimes it isn't the right moment in life to do so. But doing so will expand one's scope of consciousness and make one more whole. The male mind that cannot understand the dangers in Tony doesn't understand this within themselves, which makes them far more susceptible to acting it out unconsciously. Highly unattractive indeed. The Sopranos has always felt like the perfect show to me. It reflects all aspects of human nature displayed in familiar social context. Tony is father, husband, friend, brother, uncle, and nephew. Taking the journey with him as he navigates his decisions often caught me by surprise, challenging me to empathize with him and consider how I might respond in similar situations. Ultimately, Tony Soprano is both a cautionary tale and a mirror. His journey invites us to grapple with our own darkness, challenging us to confront the impulses we might rather ignore. By exploring his duality, we not only better understand his allure, but also uncover the truth of our own humanity. That good and evil, light and shadow, are inseparable parts of a whole. While Tony sometimes emulates courage, he often chooses the easier path, making others' lives worse with his decisions, an act of cowardice. Most of us aren't born into these conditions that Tony endured, but as we walk our paths and seek truth, we inevitably confront the evil characteristics within and without. The extremes of our positive traits are inextricably linked to the negative ones. Recognizing this, we can strive to harness them for good rather than destruction. If the male mind cannot comprehend Tony's allure, perhaps it has not yet comprehended itself. To understand Tony is to understand the good and evil within us all, and that's what makes this story timeless. And if you enjoyed today's video, please like the video and subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified next time I drop a video. If you want these essays ahead of time, please check out the link in the description. This essay, for example, was released on November 19th, and you can get these ideas and read them ahead of time. It's completely free to do, so check out the link in the description if you ever so feel inclined. So thank you for watching, and until next time, take care of yourself, everyone.